obviously from the time lapse, you can see that we've assembled my entire closet. There is one last piece that I'm going to assemble in place, and I'm going to show you the little tips and tricks that I've learned from assembling this. We've been spending the past week building my wife's closet, which definitely had more shelves, but it was a slower process because it took a few days to learn it. Yesterday we zipped through mine because we just had seen so many things and it was a lot quicker. The first few steps of doing your closets are you have to measure, you have to send all that information into Modular Closets. They design it, you go back and forth for a while till you pick out exactly what you want. But once they get here, the first thing you gotta do is actually clear the space they're going to be going into. With everything cleaned out now, we are ready to actually start bringing stuff in. This is what our end result is going to look like in this corner right here. We go along that wall and then along that wall. We could have added a lot more, especially when you look at the overall space of my closet, but we have plans for that back open area, which is right here. What is great is everything is broken down into part numbers and you just follow that. Now, what I'm trying to do, or at least what I want to do, is figure out what is the best way to make these two halves connect. We have 4 sections for this wall and then 2 sections for this wall. And then there's a little kind of bridge that you put in right there that spans the two of them. If you look on your prints, you will see this is the dimension that we gave them, and the pieces that you buy, they come in pre-built dimensions. Now they do have a few ranges of dimensions that you can work with and they'll help fit it into the space the best, but you will end up with a void somewhere. Not a big deal, but what I have to tell myself is, how do I want that to piece together? So I think for my order of operations, I'm going to start with this one, then go the 2 hutches, then another clothes hanger again, and then we'll work from there. What I've really tried to think through on this process is not working myself into a corner. I don't want to make things harder than they need to be, but I want to put some thought into the order of operations. How this cabinet goes together is the same as every piece in here. There are kind of 3 main pieces that you use. And a pro tip I've used is having like a bowl to put all your stuff in. But I want to show you all the different pieces. You have these, which are wood dowels that align everything together. You have these pins that screw in, and then your next piece will actually lock to it with one of these. So that's how it goes together when it's all the way put together, and you just have to put these in their place. And I'm using this screwdriver because the kids really like this one because it can ratchet like a socket set. You can use a drill, but I do recommend being really careful with a drill because if you're just not good at finessing a drill very well, you will tear these apart and that's your only chance of making them stay. And whenever we're building these cabinets, what we like to do is take one side and put the other side so it's mirroring it so you know you're putting everything in the right spot. Here's the hard part that I was worried about with this cabinet is typically you'll put all these pieces in and you've got them at that end too. So when you set your top half on, it just sits flat. It's being supported on both ends. This one doesn't. In your instructions, it will tell you how to do this, but you really have to think through everything on these processes. This is the top of the cabinet. So when you're looking up at the cabinet, you want to make sure you're seeing good finished edges. And I don't want to see these as much as possible, so we try to hide it. This is the rough side, the sawn side. You don't want to show that side, so you try to hide it in every way possible. And same with these connections here. So I know this is the back, this is the top, and it will have a piece across it. So I'm going to set this one in like so that when I look up at the cabinet, I see this piece, and then we take this piece, which will hide this sawn edge. Now we will see these 2 screws, but that's okay. Now you can see how these pins hold these 2 together with this little nut. Sometimes they don't go in that easy, so you have to kind of finagle the board and wiggle it around a little bit, but that's okay. And sometimes you have to clean out the hole really well too, because there's lots of sawdust and debris from where they drilled it. And then you tighten it around and you'll feel it lock and kind of pull this to it. Now at the bottom of this, there are holes drilled for these dowels that help align everything, hold it in place. And there are corresponding holes on the top of this hutch to hold it in place as well. Okay, there are a few fixed dimensions here. The width of this can't change, so how far this base comes off this wall has to match this. And then the height this one's set at has to match that one because that one can't change. I know it's 84 inches, but you could be a 16th off of each other, and I want them to line up as perfectly as possible up front so you see a perfect line. So what I think I'm going to do for order of operations is measure this one and put that dimension on the wall and cut out my baseboards. Now, cutting out the baseboards is optional. I think it's the best option because it allows this cabinet to sit perfectly against this wall as much as possible. If not, I know I'm going to be at least 3/4 of an inch off, and I don't really want that gap everywhere. So we're going to move these, measure our line, cut our baseboards, and then we can put this one in place, and then we'll bring this one up to the correct height. So I know we've got to come 31.5 inches off. The cabinet is 31.5 inches wide, so that's where I want to be. But what I did the other day to mess up was I measured off the baseboard, which gives us a 1/2 inch gap, 3/4 inch gap from our actual line. Both of our lines are cut, and if you don't have one of these saws, I will link it down below. All the tools I'll use, I'll link down below. They are crucial for this job. Next step is going to be taking a razor blade and breaking that caulking line, which is slightly painful to just ruin such a pretty line, but it's for the greater good. These cabinet jacks are a must for this project. Even with 2 people, you still need something to hold these cabinets stable at that correct height. So once we've got this set to the height we want it at, we need to go through with a stud finder and find a stud to mount to, because these have to be secured to studs to have their strength. So we've got them marked. Now I'm ready to drill, and this guy will be permanently here. This is the hardware they'll give you to mount to the walls. It's good screws. Sometimes you need deeper ones, so you'll just have to find some of those if you do, but for the most part, these are pretty good length. And I'm gonna put 2 more down below at the bottom as well, so it's really stable. Okay, every piece is in now as far as cabinetry goes. Now we're gonna start moving on to our drawers. I have 5 drawers here and 5 drawers here, and then everything else will just be the kind of shoe shelf racks or hanger racks or just regular shelf racks that are gonna go right here. I do wanna show you, this is a pedestal piece that this cabinet comes on, and I wasn't paying close enough attention and I made an error. This piece is supposed to actually line up with the front of this. And if I would have done it that way, I wouldn't have had to cut the baseboard out. And this piece would still sit flush against the wall. This just makes up for that baseboard dimension. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. It ended up being okay. We just used a small little bracket to line it up on the back. Still push this in, and I think I'm gonna leave it because I like it. I will go back and paint that portion of the wall. We'll tape it off and paint it so it looks nice and uniform to this as well. But other than that, it went in really, really smooth. There is another bridge piece right here that can go here, but I think I'm gonna feel it out and see if I do or don't want it. I don't know if I will, we'll see. But I did like the top one because it just kind of connects it, makes everything feel like it's one piece. So now all we have to do is put the tracks on the actual cabinet bases themselves, and they're pre-drilled, which is so nice. There's no guesswork on any of this. And they're pre-drilled on your drawer as well. This comes as a small piece that you can just put together. It goes together really, really quickly. This piece goes into a miter that's all the way around all 4 sides. It didn't say to glue them, but we did. We went ahead and put glue in all of them. If I know anything, a little bit of glue helps out with any kind of wood furniture. So I did go that extra step on the drawers themselves. We're to the point where we're putting on the faces of the drawers, and they come pre-drilled. They have the 3 holes and the 3 holes and 2 holes and 2 holes. These are just starters, and these are drilled all the way through. And the 3 holes are for the 2 different types of hardware you can have. You can either have a handle style that will require these 2 holes, or a single pole kind of knob that requires just a single one. And they're not drilled through on any of them except for on the drawer face itself, just not on the fascia board. So this side is completely clean, and it's kind of waiting for you to decide which hardware you want and where to drill so that you don't have exposed holes. Having these pre-drilled small holes on the side allows you to assemble it really quick and simple. I start by putting 1 screw through, lining it up with this top pre-drilled spot. And I don't cinch it down all the way. I just want it kind of resting there. Then we can do the second one, put it through. And this allows me to actually see where the second hole is. And then I can tighten that guy up as we go. I don't want to kind of sink these heads in too much, because then if there is any a little bit of adjustment, wherever that head is sunk to, that's where the screw will automatically go. So I just am trying to be delicate and just get them so that they're snug. That's not a lot of strength holding this on to the drawer itself. But when you put your handle on, whether it's a bar like this or a single pull, it is a through bolt, and it really holds this to that. And they actually have extra holes if you need to go back and kind of secure that one more time as well. I've waited till the last couple to show you how to put this hardware in, because I wanted to learn the process a little more fluently myself. We struggled a little bit on the first one, and I think we've got a good system down now. There are 2 tips to it though. One is you definitely need oversized drill bits for the holes. That's about a 3/16 hole, and that's about an 1/8 inch screw that goes in, so 3/16 bit for the final drill. For the initial drilling, you want a pre-drill bit, and a pre-drill bit tapers to the top. It's really thin. They even come with these little shanks that you can put on and off them that will help kind of countersink so your screw can sit flush, but you don't need that here. You do want this guy, however. If you start with the big drill bit and go straight through, you can get blowout, and sometimes that blowout will go outside of this handle. So when it's finished work, you really want to use the smallest bit possible to drill and then go backwards. I'll show you. You really want to make sure that you're square in the drawer. Your level height, your side to side, you're not this way or that way or up and down, because it really makes a difference on the final. So I try to hold it as square as possible. Drill through. And see how clean of a hole it makes? The only problem is this hole is not big enough for the final screw. So now we can go backwards through with our 3/16 drill bit and bore that hole out. Just a little bit bigger, and it keeps whatever blowout we get inside the handle, so it'll be covered. There we go. This is the last time we'll see this closet without anything in it, and it's fun to see all of the hangers that are in here, the tie racks that are movable in here, even these for kind of setting your outfit, prepping it for maybe travel or something like that, or for the next day, having a belt rack that's movable. All of these parts are available through Modular Closets, and you can order them in your kit as you want it. First and foremost thing coming back into the closet is going to be Lincoln's little boots. Now all we're gonna do is put the what's the word? Glides, tracks. Now we're just gonna put the tracks on the hinge. Okay, the closet has been. Let's see. Now we're just gonna put the track. Now for your pre-drill. For your pre-drill, you want. What's this called? Oh yeah.
Go ahead, start over.